both of y'all actually did go through, I think, almost the entire visual novel in the client. I went through Demacia, and I think I made it through almost all of Noxus before I started skipping all of the dialogue, because it was so painfully terrible that I just couldn't. It was like offensive to my eyes. I felt like I was going to become a worse writer by reading this. So I decided it was best to skip it.
I will say I did not get much further in the client either. In preparation for this, I went through and watched, because John, being the saint that he is, but yeah, found some videos of them. Shout out to Twister, or Twisted, I think was the YouTube channel name, who did that. God bless him.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I went through and watched those, and oof, that was,
oh god,
shit's a physical exertion, man.
Okay.
All right, let's just hop in here. Let's just rip that Band-Aid off
Fuck me.
for the next hour.
By telling the same story we just heard twice already.
So this story opens with Lucia and Senna looking for reinforcements at Sentinel headquarters. They meet Rookie, who in this story is the player. You're making all the decisions for Rookie. They're attacked by wraiths. Gwen rescues them. They find a world stone and wayfinder that let them quickly teleport to any other Sentinel base in the world. So they go to Demacia. Here, the Sentinels meet Vayne and encounter Viego at the Mage Seeker compound. Ruin Shyvana pops up and fights them and buries them in rubble. Now,
Did you watch that Necrit video when he talks, or was it Dinka K who said the most powerful part of Viego is that he's constantly throwing rocks at people?
Yeah, I think that was Necrit. He's like, just stones just start to crumble.
You don't have to be afraid of Viego. You just have to be afraid of the landscape around him.
oh, I didn't catch that, but I did specifically keep a berry count.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's constant. It's constant.
Yeah. So Gwen frees them from the rubble to go stop Viego. He's recovering his first fetter, which is a mirror. Tries to take the remaining fragment of Senna, but Gwen hides her in the mist. So Viego collapses the building around them, runs away. Sentinels chase, but they're attacked by Shyvana. They defeat her and recruit Vayne. So, berry count 1, Shyvana burying them in rubble in front of the Mage Seeker compound. Berry count 2, Viego collapsing the Mage Seeker compound on top of the Sentinels.
I fucking forgot that 2 of them happened in the same chapter. Like, out the
same
Oh my
chapter.
god.
Vayne has a quote here that says, "Never leave a monster alive." And we'll see how well she holds on to that when we recruit some other Sentinels. So interestingly, Senna has hesitation about recruiting Vayne, and Lucian vouches for her. Unlike the cinematic, where Lucian has hesitations, and Senna's like,
Why? Why would you swap that? I don't know. It's like we got to make it different.
Yeah.
Gwen has a line that says, "Ooh, I'm quivering with excitement."
Okay.
No comment.
No comment.
Well, in his notes he wrote, "Come on, guys."
There's so many other things you can do in excitement other than quiver. We're not just going to pretend there's no connotation there. We also find out that Vex is the reason there's actually mist everywhere. Like, Viego just sent Vex out to spread the mist.
Yeah.
Which is kind of different than, I feel like, every other telling of the story, where just like Viego was supposed to have all this control over the mist, but in this he was just like, "Hey Vex, just go do it so I can travel places fast."
Vex is so... You know, I don't like Vex. I'll say it now. Which is a damn shame, because I think outside the context of this event, she's a really good idea for a champion.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is really weird that he's got this toady just going around. Like, he's dealing with, like, an actual teenager, right? It's like, I don't know.
Right?
Couldn't get Hecarim to go do this shit, man? I don't know. Whatever.
Yes. I agree.
Toady. An OP teenage toady.
That's true.
Yeah. It's frustrating. She really doesn't serve any purpose. She could have been much more interesting than she was, but I guess, again, they're just trying to get hype so people will buy her for the marketing. But yeah, it should have been Hecarim.
Should have been Hecarim.
Fresh. Something like that. Something they've already established.
Sure. Get some Rune Terror. Get Ledros in here. I don't fucking know, man.
Right? Next stop is the Freljord. Immediately, berry count number 3. They teleport to the Sentinel headquarters in the Freljord, and it is under a massive millennium-old snowdrift. So they dig their way out. They see Olaf fighting some wraiths. Lucian recognizes him from the Bilgewater harrowing. That's going to be a one-sided recognition because Olaf will never acknowledge that he had any sort of history with Lucian. Olaf fights Vex, and the Sentinels intervene before she can kill him because she was for sure gonna. Olaf's pissed, attacks the Sentinels, but they calm him down, search for Vex. They find her securing the next fetter. They decide to cause an avalanche to cut her off, which they didn't get buried by it, but I'm gonna count starting an avalanche to bury someone as another bury count. Vex uses her shadow to cause all the Sentinels to just move at a snail's pace while she gets away. Strong as hell.
Yeah.
So she's going to be OP when they release her too.
And Sentinels recruit Olaf. Also, they have a line here that says, using her shadow as a sled, Vex slides down the glacier. That's so fun.
Sure.
John had something nice to say.
Yeah. I did write a note here that I wasn't sure what Vex's portal rules were, because I knew she could make portals, but I didn't understand when she could and when she couldn't, because there seemed to be a lot of times where she's like running instead of just making a portal.
I think Riot also doesn't know how it works. So
yeah, I thought they had something down, because there was one point where like Viego like I guess touches her with his sword and like channels mist through her and it opens a portal. So I was like, okay, he needs the two of them in conjunction maybe. But then they ignore that later and she just starts popping portals up, obviously like after Viego's gone, and she just opens up another portal like, nah, it's cool, guys.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the rules are. Also, just quick thing, Sentinel Olaf.
God damn it.
The fuck happened to your eye, brah?
Yeah, why does he have one eye?
Okay, so
you were fine.
Spoilers, I guess. Ringo shows up later, and he's got an eye back. So obviously they just traded, right?
I didn't think about that. This is about the moment I realized that this event was really bad.
Yeah. This is like...
It was somewhere early on, and it was because they're trying to shove way too much comic relief in this. They're trying to make everything in this really funny, and it's not funny, first of all. And also, why are you trying to make it funny?
God, I know. Tone is probably the biggest issue with this entire thing.
Oh, the tone is so bad. They're trying to make Vex's comic relief. Olaf is funny. The rookie is funny. Well, they keep giving you dialogue options, and they're 3 troll, quote, funny answers. They're all shitty. I'm, like, trying to play this like a real person. Like, oh, I want to have, like, a serious conversation. No, I have to call you, like, a dumb fuck asshole if I want to progress the story.
Yeah.
That was my favorite dialogue option.
God.
Or whatever it is. Everyone is comic relief except for, like, Lucian and Senna. I think everyone else is supposed to be like funny.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they were trying. This isn't fun. This is a tragic, horrible event.
Right?
And
let's be honest, if you did want it to be funny, I obviously he probably doesn't still work there. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, maybe it was a contract thing. But you had the writer for Borderlands 2 on your team.
Okay, John, I don't think he's still there anymore.
Get him back and have him write your funny stuff again.
You know,
yeah, the humor wasn't good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually highlights. You know, I know humor is a very subjective, to one's taste type thing, but it's very telling that all of the humor is very much relying on people being like completely unaware of the situation or the gravity of the situation, or almost just like raw, like lowbrow humor, right? Like you got like Olaf farting is my go-to example, right? Where it's like, is that where we're at? Really? You're trying to get a laugh through this?
Is this a Happy Madison production? What are we watching?
Don't insult Happy Madison. No. Exactly. That's actually a really good comparison. And yeah, it is bizarre. It might be, because like I said, remember where we were at with the Ruination cinematic, right? That's your inciting incident. This is the elevator pitch for your whole event, and the tone is very, like I said, serious. Stakes are high.
Yeah.
Things are going bad. The way it's been depicted. Remember, kids, being in the mist is like being in hell, right? We learned that in the Hecarim episode. It's like hell smoke. It's covering the earth. It's bizarre. I don't understand. I really want someone to explain to me what the creative decision was that drove this, because it's it kills the whole thing.
It's so bad. The tone is just so terrible.
Like, imagine Guardians of the Galaxy if you had Star-Lord and 8 Draxes.
Sure.
It seemed like every other character in this was just like that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that comparison is actually a really apt one, because I get the sense that that's what they wanted, right? Was like, oh, we're going to get this bunch of misfits, and it'll be, it's this grand globe-trotting adventure, right? And here's some humor to help relieve some of that tension. But when it's all humor, there's no tension. It's a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to write the characters who weren't supposed to be humorous. Like, Lucian's just mad all the time. Senna has 0 personality. Gwen is just, like, girly. They didn't really know...
Everyone has a one word personality.
One note, yeah.
Yeah, and ones who are not doing comedy, like Aurelia, I guess, is almost like a non-entity.
She's just boring.
Yeah, she's just dour.
Yeah, like she was like Senna. Like Aurelia and Senna, you could swap all their fucking lines. You'd never know.
That's a really good point. Yeah. Anyway.
And we're only 2 regions in.
I know. God, okay.
So now they teleport to Noxus. Unfortunately, the Sentinel base is now a fighting arena. So they fight Draven and win, but are imprisoned anyway next to Riven. So they work together to ambush a guard and free themselves. And they all follow the mist to the Immortal Bastion, where they confront Viego, who's working on finding another fetter, a wine flagon. And then he escapes easily and leaves ruined Draven behind to fight the party. So they win and recruit Riven. Fun little fact here, the party passes a statue of Mordekaiser on their way there.
Who's also left out of this event.
They also stumble accidentally on the doorsteps of the Black Rose, who have secret doors that will only open if you tell secrets, but they tell you how to open the door on the door.
The most secret and powerful organization in Noxus that no one can infiltrate. Even Swain can't fucking find them. By the way, where the fuck is Swain? Who knows?
He's having a drink with Garen and Jarvan.
Set aside our differences.
And Darius is there too.
Oh man.
I get you can't include every character, but when you're trying to have like these big events happen in these locations, you can't just ignore the leaders there, the characters there, this world that you've established. They've erased it.
Yeah.
Demacia was empty except for Vayne and Shyvana. They were the only 2 fucking people there for some reason.
Absolutely. The world building is a massive problem.
And the same thing happened here. Oh, it's so bad. Yeah, so bad.
It's fine if you don't want to tell those stories or don't even want to give us that insight, but then you need to scale down the scope of the story, right?
Yeah.
Keep it in a single region. If you can't handle it, handle the heat, don't step into the fucking kitchen, man. It's so bizarre. It is so bizarre to me that someone would look at this and not immediately raise that question of what's happening with the major players in these areas. This is something that's supposed to be like the Noxian like dueling arena is completely ruined, right? In the ruination sense. What the fuck? Like, that is something that would warrant a response from somebody. Draven, right?
Yes.
You have characters also like Draven, who's got Darius is amazing. That's a very impactful relationship for both of them. So it makes no sense that we don't see Darius doing something to counteract that, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least give us like the slightest. Again, 6 comics, right? And each one's a little one shot, just showing what the major players in that region are trying to do. Just help fill out the world a bit, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now their next stop is Ionia, where they're immediately attacked by some corrupted environment. After fighting the mist, the party meets Aurelia. She's obviously not happy to see Riven. Drama. Oh. She takes the party to Karma, who lets them know Viego's heading here for another fetter, a silver flower. She tells him to take it to the Grove of the Ancients, where the black mist can't penetrate, she says. But then Wraiths attack and Karma flees into the Grove with the party, while Aurelia holds him at bay. Karma is now just kind of immediately overwhelmed with regret about not intervening during the Noxian invasion while Ionians died, just kind of out of nowhere. I think the implication here is that her thoughts are being corrupted, as opposed to being physically corrupted by Viego, although I don't know what's corrupting her because they're in the Grove at this point, where the black mist can't penetrate.
That's a good question.
I have it on great authority.
They all gotta stop using the word penetrate.
So that causes Viego's corruption to overcome her. She flees with the fetter, The party temporarily purifies her and reclaims the fetter and goes to the grove. Viego shows up. He doesn't give a fuck about Black Mist. He's like, I'm just going to come in here and corrupt you myself. So he does, and then he also corrupts the land itself, and then just walks away with another fetter like it's nothing. And then the group recruits Aurelia. There's lots of talk of tendrils here. A lot.
Alawi's not even here.
Water tendrils, vine tendrils, all trying to pull at the Sentinels, and I'm fairly certain I've seen this hentai.
Maybe.
Yeah. I was just going to say, of all the regions, this one I hated the least, I think.
No one got buried.
No berry count.
No one got buried. They tried to pull them underwater, which would have been, but it didn't work.
Didn't work. Okay, so one point Necrit made that was really good, and why Viego doesn't work in this event, is that they show him too much. And I think that was a big problem I had. Every time I'd go to a new region, Viego kept popping up. And I'm like, aren't you the big bad? Get out of here. You're supposed to show up at the end. So there's a lot that needs to be done to fix this.
Yeah.
But I think Viego constantly just appearing and being like, my wife, and then leaving. I don't understand. I don't get it. Why does he keep appearing? And it doesn't do anything. He could just slaughter all of them on the spot and stop their attempts to thwart him, but he doesn't. Yeah. And then he just sits on a throne all the time. Get off your fucking ass, Vieg. I don't know.
Now, there's a lot to be said for, like, I mean, at least in video games, I do love when you start the game by fighting the end boss.
And then they kick your ass like 2 seconds?
Yeah, they destroy you, and then you fight him again at the end, so you can track how much you've grown as a character. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
But if I had to fight the end boss at every single city I went to for the duration of the game, and I lost every time, and then at the end, like, I somehow beat him after losing, I would... That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hate it. I hated how much you saw Viego. It really ruined the tension of it.
Yeah.
It's like if Jaws just was on the ship with them the whole time.
Yeah, the shark's just constantly there. Like, the unknown is way more intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just flopping around on the boat.
It's a really good point. It's an absolutely great point. I think also it starts to really... God, even as I was watching through it, it really starts to kind of like, oh, man. You can just start to see the repetition in what is happening in the events. And it starts becoming a grind. Not even the grind to unlock the fucking story. Just like, we're going to go look for another fetter. Or, by the way, fetters are pieces of Isolde. I don't know if we ever said it.
Those are Horcruxes.
They're Horcruxes, yeah.
That's their word.
Like,
that's their word for it.
I wonder if we're going to get it, right? I wonder if we're going to get away with this one.
This whole event was an MMO fetch quest where you don't successfully fetch anything.
God, it really fucking was.
It was kind of similar to actually Harry Potter trying to get the Horcruxes, if you've read the last book. Just a schlep together in bed.
Man, it's been a minute since I've read that, but...
But now our great heroes are off to Targon. So they show up to see the peak of Mount Targon shrouded in mist. They encounter Diana, who volunteers to guide them to the top, which they climb up very easily.
Okay, can someone... So Mount Targon, like, isn't that, like, proof that you're worthy to be a god if you can climb Mount Targon, something like that?
It is at least the most trying trial you've ever done.
Yes.
So it's almost like they all just casually climb Mount Everest is kind of what it sounds like.
Yes, but also the idea that climbing Mount Everest also might give you god powers, right?
Yeah, you might
see ghosts from your actual past. It's like Silent Hill a little.
I hated this so much. Like, they just took the biggest, stinkiest shit on the Targon lore. Like this was so fucking insulting to what Targon is supposed to be and represent. It's fucking insulting that they all just like casually climb up Mount Targon, this is sent as a punishment for people, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a death sentence.
This is literally a death sentence, and they're all just like, oh, Targon, and they just climb up it, easy peasy.
I only wore my sandals. That won't be a problem, will it?
Right. Oh, man. Gwen in her fucking little dress. Oh my god.
Oh my god, right?
So near the peak, they encounter Atreus fighting Viego for another fetter.
So
like
Atreus is Pantheon, kind of, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Viego ruins Atreus,
Sure.
which reawakens Pantheon, who had kind of been within him. And Pantheon calls down an avalanche and traps the party in a cave with fallen rocks. Berry count number 5. Diana almost gives in to the ruination here, just 'cause. But she meets 2 Lunari who are hiding in the cave, and she is reinvigorated. And remember, she's the goddamn aspect of the fucking moon, and just clears the rocks away. Because of course, why wouldn't you clear the rocks away? You're a god.
I was just gonna say, Diana's literally a goddess. She's literally a god. This is like Aurelian Soul being bothered by Viego. He wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I can. The ruination of Pantheon and Atreus is one thing, and we can talk about that. But the fact that like this is, for all that I'm aware, the first meeting we have of Diana and the Lunari is told here. That's a real fucking shame. It's just really sad.
Yup.
Huge fucking
Especially
problem.
since there's an implied off-screen reunion, given that she has her sword back, which
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
we know Aphelios has. So like there's some sort of the real reunion is just goddamn off-screen, and then this
So,
is
I
the
mean,
second one, and it sucked.
There was no reunion. They just didn't know
Exactly.
that Diana didn't have her fucking blade.
Exactly.
They had
Ding,
no.
ding, ding.
Whoever wrote this had no fucking idea that Aphelios had Diana's weapon.
Absolutely true. That is absolutely 100% true. I would
Read
bet
your
money.
own goddamn lore.
That's big. Yeah, yeah. It's a huge fucking problem.
Aphelios isn't even an old champion.
He doesn't have a lot of
How do you not-
lore.
how do you not know his lore?
Just check it out, man.
Check out our episode. It's early on.
Hey,
Don't listen to this one because we really didn't like whatever you did.
so they get to the top. Diana fights Pantheon, seems to handily beat him. Viego obviously gets away with another fetter, like it ain't no thing. And Diana
Hang on. Is Viego just waiting for them to get there and then showing up and grabbing the fetter just to like rub it in their face? Like, why is it Viego just? Does he not?
Yeah, it reminds me of like God, what's his name? Kamek from all the Mario games. The mage
lost me.
who pops up all the time and is like,
Yeah.
he just always shows up to cause shit.
I wish
But he
that's
was like
what
sitting there
happened.
waiting for you to get there,
How do
and then he
they-
laughs at you and disappears.
How do they all know where the fetters are and why are they going in the exact same order?
Yeah.
Is Viego just following them to the fetters?
It's a really big
It doesn't make any sense.
It's a really big question because they establish in here as well that the mist seeks them out and can kind of like naturally know where they are. There's a scene later on where Miss Fortune like hides one in her pocket, and the mist like for some
Oh
reason
my
can't
God.
figure it out. It doesn't know that it's just there in that fucking
It
pocket.
doesn't know pockets exist. You got to put it in your nature's pocket, Misfortune. That's your vagina.
The mist would
like-
never search
yeah.
there.
It would never search there.
Look, I've seen that hentai.
If-
All right.
And if Viego can sense the fetters, like
He would get there before them.
he's always gonna, anywhere they go, he's gonna know because 2 of the fetters are in your party.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Maybe leave Senna and Gwen out of this. Maybe
right?
leave them
and
home.
he moves faster than y'all do.
That was kind of something I
Clearly.
thought might have been going on. I was like, oh, we know that there's this weird connection, and you're bringing along essentially a homing beacon for the Shadow Isles. Like, why doesn't he just let you guys, like, follow you guys and let you do the work? But these assholes don't know which way they're going in the first place. That's a big problem for the whole thing, too, is that there's no really clear motivation. And, like, the Fetters just kind of falls on their lap. The idea of recruiting Sentinels is just kind of like, it feels just like busy work. Like, we don't really know what we're going to do, but we know that he wants these things, and more guns helps.
Yeah.
So we're going to try doing this, and none of it
and
matters
it's always
anyway.
a coincidence.
Yes.
They always get to a region and immediately bump into the fetter and the exact person they need to find.
Yeah, that's a really big fucking problem, too.
Yeah. Now we're gonna do a separate counter now,
God.
because the Sentinels have now recruited a goddess. So now we're gonna count how many problems they should have been able to get out of by nature of having a goddess on their team.
That's a, yeah. Yeah. She punches way above their weight class. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So now they find their way to Piltover and Zahn, my favorite area. All right, so we're going to find out that Piltover and Zahn, they don't give a shit about the Black Mist. Do you want to know why? Because they invented fans.
That shit's fucking dope.
Okay, I cannot get over this. The Black Mists are the souls, right? Aren't they like ravenous souls?
Yeah.
It's not like literally fog. This isn't the fog. So does that mean that anytime you're fighting a soul, if Hecarim comes at you, you could just grab a fucking Disney fan and wave it at him and he'd blow away? I don't fucking understand.
How has Janna not ended this ruination?
Right?
Oh my god.
That was
Janna
a really
could clear all the mists.
Yeah, that was a really good suggestion. I saw someone post. It was like, have Janna be protecting the city, because I know she's like a Zahn kind of goddess. It's like, oh yeah, and then she's on that power level where you could reasonably see her stopping it. Ruined Janna. I don't fucking know.
Who came up with this? Who was like, Piltover's gonna have some big ass fans?
And they're the only ones who have discovered fans. I get it. Piltover's a technologically advanced place.
It's a
I think
fan.
other places have fans. Windmills were in medieval time. We figured out fans, folks.
Do they? No. Okay. I don't remember them explicitly saying fans. I thought they just said they had devices in the visual novel.
Devices that blow the mist away.
Yeah, they say blow away. That's the problem. Is it reads like like fans. Like a bunch
just
of
a big fucking
window
fan.
units.
Yeah.
Anywho, so they make Graves immediately. Unfortunately, all the machines, I guess, simultaneously break, and now the mist comes in.
Just start blowing at them. You're fine.
They find another fetter, an antique parasol.
Use the parasol to create a fan.
Graves steals it, flees to Zahn. The party meets two more Sentinels, Ada and Des, who lead them through the sewers.
Now, are these Legends of Runeterra cards?
They are.
Okay.
In fact, I've got a little bit after this, but Legends of Runeterra introduces a slew of way cooler looking Sentinels.
They do. I wish it had been about them. That would have been so much better.
It would have been so good. Actually, I have a... Hold on, let me go
In
down.
general, Legends of Runeterra is just doing so much better
Yeah, it's weird.
with their lore and stuff.
It feels... I think I said this like last episode maybe, but it kind of feels like they don't have as much attention from probably like marketing folks and things like that. So they're kind of given more of a free reign. Or they're kind of given their own little space to play around in, and they seem to have their heads... I'm sure it's a smaller product too, right? You know, it's probably a lot easier to keep things more organized.
Yeah.
So they, Ada and Des bring them into the sewers because for some reason Zahn has been barricaded and trapped. So they meet Vex here, and they find out that Vex thinks that Viego is collecting all of these fetters just to make the world an awful place for her. And she's, edgelordy and emo, so she's like, yeah, I want the world to be awful. That's great. So Ada and Des kind of hold her off while the rest of the party looks for Graves. They track him to a chemtech factory where there's a shootout that results in the building exploding. They get buried in the rubble.
It's so fucking dumb.
They survive, but they encounter Vex again, who has defeated Ada and Des and has taken the fetter. Graves is intimidated into joining the Sentinels by Vayne, who's the only Sentinel he respects, as she fired at him first in the factory. Hey,
Not my Graves.
you know how you get a fetter back from Graves? You have your goddamn god take it away from him. Pluck the fetter out of his puny mortal hand so there's no shootout in a chemtech factory.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was going to say, was he even intimidated into it? Because the reasons he gives are more like, oh, can't even make a living being a thief anymore. Which is kind of what it says on his skin lore. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
So weak.
It's so
fucking weak, dude.
Fucking bad. I hate it.
Let's see. Oh, it was at this point that I wished that I had been keeping a normies counter on Vex.
God, yeah.
Man, she says that a lot.
Oh, I don't think I noticed. I didn't get to a lot of her.
In one interaction, I counted her say normie 4 times.
And that's at like the end of the... That's like at the end of the thing too. It's like in the denouement of all of it.
Yeah.
It's really... I hate it. I hate that a lot, I will say. I don't understand what the thought process was there, but it's a broken process.
Oh, she also has a line here that says, I feel so lied to, so depressed, and not the good kind of depressed.
See,
cool, Vex.
She she could have been Olaf. I will say, Vex, like I said, outside of this, as just a league champion, I think she's a lot of fun. And I think the idea is really strong.
I'm excited.
I feel like I'm going to play the shit out.
I'm excited to see her actual lore, because I'm imagining that she's very out of character here, just like fucking everybody else is. And she's probably more refined.
I would bet.
Or she will be.
God, you'd fucking have to hope so.
Yeah, right?
So the party now goes to Ixtal, where they immediately split. Fucking rookie move. Lucian and Rookie encounter Rengar, who's just getting destroyed by wraiths. The Sentinels rescue him, and he loses all confidence in himself and refuses to fight until the player tells a ridiculous story to re-inspire him. Lucian vents about his desire to protect Senna, and Thresh appears and offers a deal. Crucial information to defeat Viego in exchange for a fetter. In exchange for a jade mask in a temple, Thresh tells him of an ancient Sentinel artifact in Shurima with the power to revive fallen allies. Lucian doesn't believe him, but Thresh gets away with the mask anyway. Lucian tells Rookie not to tell anyone about the fuck up, and they recruit Rengar. So, man, there was a lot in this one.
From what I understand, Rengar is the most out of character of everybody. I don't really know Rengar very much, but they tried to like dumb him down here, right?
Okay, now I have a thought here.
Okay.
I have a potentially unpopular opinion
Ooh.
about Rengar's characterization in this story.
Okay.
I am actually not too opposed to it. There's been a lot of Rengar hate I feel like a lot of it is that they made him sound stupid. But to the Guardians of the Galaxy point, he sounded way more to me like Drax, who is also a fearsome warrior. He's just naive and overly literal.
But that's kind of... okay.
So a lot of the things that Rengar does here are played for laughs by the other characters. Like, the way that the other characters are interacting with him makes him sound way more stupid than the questions that he's asking. So, like, as an example, he asks a lot of things when he's fighting the Mist that we think are dumb because we've been following the Mist the whole time. As someone who has never heard of or experienced the Mist, he's asking a lot of really good hunter questions. He's like, hey, what do their droppings look like? What do we bait them with? I want to mount one of them. How do I do that? They're things that in any other case would be perfectly legitimate questions that a hunter would ask if he was hunting prey, which seems stupid in this context. And especially all the characters are like, oh my god, this fucking dummy. But they're good questions.
I don't even think... So I don't necessarily agree, but I will say that to me is not an example of him behaving in a dumb way, because I completely agree. Those are absolutely the things you would expect him to ask, because that's the way he understands hunting and prey, and he's just not encountered anything like this, right? That's all fine. I think it's a lot of the things that happen especially like post this, where a lot of the interactions become very much played for laughs, and he's being played very much as just a big cat, in the sense of like, ooh, pet me, but don't touch my back and don't touch my belly and don't touch my toes and stuff. I think the other issue with Rengar about like being depicted in this way is that, again, he, like so many others, is doing comedic relief duty, where if it was just him and there had been a lot more serious tension before this, it maybe would have landed a lot better, right? I don't know.
I have another quote from Rengar here too, when Thresh shows up and he's like, I know that smell. Deception. It's a predator's trick. Even fucking Rengar knows. Come on, Lucian.
Lucian making a deal with Thresh is the most insulting and despicable thing. The fact that it happened so quickly. This is another instance where if you wanted to have something like this, Lucian having to make a deal with Thresh could be a really interesting place to explore, but they have it happen in 4 fucking seconds because they don't have any room to explore anything in this event that they made. Seeing Lucian agonize over potentially making a deal with Thresh to beat a bigger bad is fascinating, but they don't do that. He's just into like, okay.
Yeah. This might be the worst thing.
I believe you.
This was the other thing that I thought might be the worst thing.
This was your
I really did not like this. I think the execution is the biggest problem, but I think conceptually you got to really do a lot of work to make this work, and it could, and it could be really compelling.
Yeah.
But it is not done. It starts to enter the realm, and I hate to use this term, but it starts to enter the realm of like almost character assassination. I don't like using that term because I think it gets used way too much. But this is pretty fucking bad. This is really hard to fucking stomach.
Because the build up of Thresh came out first, yes, and then Lucian.
I think.
Oh, like in order.
In the game. I think it was. Gosh, I don't remember. I remember they were really close. It was like one and then the other, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was Thresh and then Lucian, because you see Thresh's lantern in Lucian's login screen with his animation. Yeah. All of that, and then all of that leading to Senna's release was so well done and so fucking cool. And it really just feels like this takes away from that a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, that should have been...
especially knowing what we know now about, like, the cost of this deal at the end of the story. Literally just undoing all of the years that you spent trying to get her out of that lantern. Like,
I guess to me, like, getting to that end point where Thresh is like, oh, we've made this deal. I don't even understand really the impact of them making that deal in that context, because he always was going to want somebody's soul. He wants all the souls, man. There's never a point where Thresh doesn't want to trap you in his lantern. So what's the what does it matter that now he wants to trap you in his lantern? He's always, it's like his number one, it's his MO, right? He's always doing that shit.
So here's what my thought was, and I don't feel like it was ever expressly mentioned in the story, but my impression was that the jade mask that they got from the temple wasn't a fetter. It was just something that Thresh was using as a focus to help absorb all of the black mist, to give him all of that crazy strength he had by the end of the story. Like, maybe he needed that in order to actually absorb all the power, so that, you know, by the time it came down to it at the end, now he's too strong to say no to.
Well, I know there's a scene, this is the thing where I would have to go back and look at because there's a scene that happens a little later on where he goes, and he does give a fetter to Viego, but I can't remember if it's the same one or if he gives him something else. I assume he can't give him a fake. Like, Viego probably knows that it's a real thing, but I can't remember if it's this or if he just happened to have another that he was kind of, you know, pulling in a little shenanigans with. I don't know.
Because, I mean, honestly, it seems like he should probably be able to, I don't know, have a read on her soul fragments, too. She was in his lamp a while.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. That would explain maybe how he got there and was able to operate sort of independently in this scene, but...
So another thing that happened right at the start of this story is the story starts with Senna forcing Riven and Aurelia to work together, and she says they need to, quote, stop acting like petty school children, which is like, I don't know, maybe cool at Senna. I wouldn't call a massacre of your children a petty squabble.
Yeah, that line rubbed me bad too. Like, you just don't.
I didn't even see that line.
You don't understand the context of what's happening here. Like, she doesn't, right? and I guess you could try and argue that in universe that's realistic. She doesn't really know the history. She just knows what she needs them to work together. But having one of them respond in that way would have been nice to help establish, like, no, this is a more serious thing. You need to understand. Whatever.
And now the party is going to move on to Bilgewater.
Now you get to insult misfortune.
I feel like every region we get to, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what I really hated about this region. And there's no region that doesn't have something like that. Yeah. So anyway, the party immediately meets Misfortune, who has another fetter, a brass bell. The party tells her about the importance of the bell, only to have her turn around and try to deal with Viego, because the whole war, the power struggle with Gangplank, I could end it all today. Which, for the record, all right, I guess you know about Gangplank off screen now.
Right?
Cool.
This was such a massive moment. Gangplank's return.
This must be a Ruined King
throw
thing.
that in
God,
there.
I hope it's a fucking Ruined King thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I will say too, like this is coming out. This episode's coming out before the Ruined King game.
I mean, we don't know when that's coming
where
out. So
I assume I hope that we're going to learn more about, I guess, the Alawi Pike connection they have, and Misfortune, and maybe we'll know more that we don't know now. Who knows? But this is before that game comes out, so all these impressions are pre the Ruined King.
Well, they released all of this before they released the Ruined King.
It's true,
so
that's on them.
That's on them. That's not our fucking fault.
So the group convinces her to join them and give them the fetter if they can defeat Viego. The group also encounters Pike on the way there, fighting with wraiths. Then they find Viego, and who could have expected this? Misfortune turns on the party immediately and lets Viego ruin her on purpose. And then Viego leaves with the fetter after collapsing the warehouse on them and knocking the Wayfinder into the ocean. This is Berry Count 7.
Good God.
Misfortune returns with her crew to finish off the party, and then Pike drags her into the ocean because list stuff and things. He eventually returns and brings the Wayfinder back so the party can teleport back, and he joins the party. Man, yeah, we mentioned it, but what a shitty way to reintroduce the Misfortune Gangplank conflict if you're going to bring it back. Also, I see like one of the other than Rengar, I think another one of the big pieces of hate that a lot of the text gets is Pike's characterization. It was a very one-note, like, list this and
It's like
that
they're playing him for
that.
comedic purposes, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
and
you
I
know
think
what?
that hate
At this
is warranted.
They really needed some comic relief, when
It
they
was
got to
getting
Pike.
too dark and dire.
It was getting too serious and dark, and they needed some comic relief. So that's Pike's purpose here.
It was one of those things where, like, if used in moderation, like, yeah, it would absolutely make sense. It's true to his character. You can make it work. But to do it as much as they did it and as nonsensically as it was done really ruined the shtick.
Yes. Yeah, it deflates a lot of Pike's menace when he is so easily manipulated, right? I don't know the details of how he works. I know that I think it's like some of the beasts below drive a lot of what he does, right? And he's not actually hunting for people on a list. It's more of they tell him what to do. But the fact that someone can just come along and be like, I'm not Viego, or I'm not the guy. I didn't cut your line. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Did that guy? It's like, it makes him come off like a blockhead.
All right. Yeah. Also weird that, like, Misfortune just decided to turn into GP.
Hey,
Here's a quote from her. "I intend to get the spoils." What a weird Misfortune thing to say.
No, we haven't even gotten a Misfortune yet, but from everything we've seen, this is wildly out of character for her.
And this was probably coming right off the back of her rescuing Graves and TF from that Sea Witch in that other cinematic. Like, where did all of this come from? Yeah. And she had just recently worked with Olaf and Lucian in the last Harrowing. Like, these aren't strangers. Like,
Yes.
these are all people that have worked very close with her. It was so fucking weird. Also, of all the characters, when the Ruination ends, she's gonna have some fucking explaining to do, because everybody else fought.
Yeah.
All of them fought. They're like, I don't want to be ruined. She was legit just like, nope, fuck all y'all. Ruin me, bitch.
Yeah.
Ruin me, Viego.
God. Shove that sword straight through me.
Speaking of Dinka K.
Oh, no.
Gosh damn. Yeah, it's a really big fucking problem, isn't it? Right? It's so funny that we have all these things about, you haven't answered so many questions about the world, and now on top of that, you're starting to answer questions that we like, this needed so much more, right? It's like the Lucian thing where you could get her here, right? But that's like a whole almost event in and of itself, right? Burning Tides Part 2 would have to happen first to even get close to this. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Does this count towards your Diana counter?
Ooh, yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because you know how you prevent Misfortune from giving a fetter to someone? You have your goddamn goddess take the fetter away from her.
Yeah, you know what I love? So I was watching through them, and I was looking at the stupid rookie responses, and one of them actually said, well, why don't we jump her? There's 10 of us and one of her. And I think Graves is like, oh, but then we'd have 20 goons shooting at us. She always got people with her. And then that's what happens at the end anyway, and they just win, and everyone's fine. But man, like, come on. Anyway, yeah, continue.
Well, now we go to Shurima. So Senna's ready to attack the Shadow Isles, but Lucian wants to look for this gun that Thresh told him about, because Thresh is a notoriously trustworthy foe. So Lucian and Rookie teleport to Shurima while the group sleeps, and they meet Akshan, who's trying to revive his mentor Shadya by killing the local warlord who killed her. When that doesn't work, they try to convince him to join the group, but he refuses and leaves to kill another warlord instead. So meanwhile, Ruin Draven and Karma are in a nearby town recovering a reed basket fetter, and Lucian and the player ambush Viego, who's apparently also here. He's completely unaffected by their attack, and so bored that he does not even fight them back. He just summons wraiths to fight them.
Of course, of course. He never does his own fighting in this fucking thing.
The wraiths quickly overwhelm them and kill them. Akshan shows up, kills the wraiths, revives Lucian and Rookie, and joins them to honor Shadya's memory. I did specifically look to see how many wraiths there were, to see if maybe they were buried by wraiths, but it doesn't seem like
I wondered about that, if that was going to get in there on a technicality.
Because the visual novel just has like 2 wraiths. I guess they were just really fucking
really
like roided out.
Yeah, Lucian's killed like 8 million of these things before.
Yeah, they go through them like butter. Except for here.
Except for here.
Yep.
Stuff and things.
Yeah.
So that's all in Shurima. And then Shadow Isles time. Sentinels go to the Shadow Isles to fight Viego. They meet a veteran Sentinel here who introduces them to Yorick, who offers them the last of the Waters of Life and the final fetter, his Maiden of the Mist. The Sentinels sail to Viego's island, but Akshan has disappeared. The party attacks Viego while Gwen restrains him with Hallowed Mist. Ruined Ada and Desh show up and restrain Senna. Viego stabs Gwen, kind of like in the cinematic, and she summons MF, Karma, Draven, and Shyvana to hold off the party, while Vex creates a portal to Camivore and takes Senna, Gwen, and all the rest of the fetters through it. Lucian almost follows through the portal, but Senna says she needs to take care of it herself.
Sure.
Rookie goes through the portal, though, before it closes, and Viego uses the fetters to resurrect Isolde, killing Senna, Gwen, and the Maiden in the process. Isolde is pissed at Viego. Akshan shows up. He apparently also snuck through the portal and kills Isolde, which revives Senna, Gwen, and the Maiden and weakens Viego. They attack again as a team, and Gwen successfully binds him. They're trying to figure out how to get back, and Vex is like, I got you. She's cool with the Sentinels now that Viego's gone. She doesn't really have anything against them. In the Shadow Isles, all the corrupted folk return to normal, but there's still lots of black mist, apparently. And that's when...
Just get some fans.
Right. Get the AC guys out here. The HVAC teams.
HVAC. Man, return HVAC group making a killing. So Thresh shows up, and it turns out he's been siphoning the black mist and is now unbound from the Shadow Isles. He demands retribution for freeing Senna's soul from the lantern, 1 soul willingly, or all their souls, if unwillingly. So Rookie offers his soul, but right at the last minute, teleports away using the Wayfinder, and Lucian and Senna begin their next journey hunting Thresh. The end. Okay. I also have a few thoughts about
I
this.
see that, yeah.
So we haven't gotten to York yet.
Yeah, they kind of throw him in at the end here.
So only a few drops remain of the blessed water. And I took and it's also said that he anoints each of the sentinels with a drip of water. There are 12 at this point Sentinels. That is more than a few drops of water.
He's got like a whole little Dixie cup that he ends up using.
He's got a fucking water gun.
Look, for like Ringo and Pike, he's like, I ran out 3 Sentinels ago. He spits on them, just pretends.
No, I didn't have as big a problem with him like sharing his water. I know that in his short story, like he does have that internal conflict of like, oh, do I use the water to revive this person, or if I do, I'm immediately gonna die. But kind of the whole reason he's been raising an army of the undead anyways to kind of take on Viego anyhow. So I mean, I could see him using the last of his water to like power this super army of people that may actually have a chance of taking him down. All the rest of the stuff was weird to me, though.
Yeah. I think the big issue with Yorick is that he is so... You remember way back at the start of all this when I said, hey, the Ruined King has established enemies and allies. Well, Yorick is very much an enemy, and it's kind of central to his character. I don't know. I vaguely remembered some of Yorick's lore. I brushed through his bio a little bit just to kind of refresh. And yeah, it's like his driving motivation. Like you said, he's putting together an army of undead to like he was on this ship before it was cool, right? He was doing this shit from the very start, and it's just so sad, I guess, that he gets no mention except at the very end when he's just a glorified, like he doesn't do like he's obviously just, I don't know. They knew that people were going to be upset, right? I think Riot Reeve or whoever had commented about it. They were aware, but this is not even throwing a bone, right? It doesn't even come close to addressing, like, this is a very integral thing to this character. Wouldn't it have been so much more interesting if he had been, like, why have him instead of Pike, right? Right? Why not? Fuck it.
Why the fuck is Pike here?
Yeah. Yeah, and in universe, I agree, yeah. If I'm sure he would give his water up if he thought that it was a good enough chance, but he doesn't really know these people. That's another big problem too, is like he has no real context for it. He hangs out with this old Sentinel guy, I guess, who looked pretty cool, by the way. That old Sentinel guy's design was pretty cool.
He's in Legends of Terror, right? He's got an actual name or something, right?
I don't remember
or some shit like
but
that.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so it doesn't really make sense in, like, even in the context of like what's literally happening for him to be so willing, right? Again, everything just feels so rushed and condensed.
Now, and this might be my ignorance of Yorick too, so feel free to hop in the comments, but like, can he just give away the maiden? My understanding was that like the maiden is like someone who's hanging around waiting for the opportunity to just fucking kill him as soon as that water isn't around his neck anymore. Can he just be like, hey maiden, you go with them now? And she's like, oh no, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's another good question, right? It's an antagonist to him, and it's bizarre that it would kind of go along with the Sentinels unless he had some way of controlling it, which as far as I know, he doesn't have. It is strange.
And then she comes back and they're buddies.
Oh, that odd couple.
I do love that Ada and Des get a very anime, nothing personal moment in this comic. It's very cool where they're just like, and all of a sudden they're behind Senna and just gotcha.
Yeah, see, I kind of missed that, but yeah, you're right.
I find it impossible. This is just a personal thing and maybe not related to the story at all. But when Senna was like, this is something I have to do myself, it is impossible for me to hear that without immediately thinking of that scene in Firefly. Where
John, everything reminds you of Firefly.
Well, because everything is awesome like Firefly. Where Mal is fighting that like massive dude and Zoe's like, oh, this is something Mal has to handle by himself. He's like, no, it's not. You're like, oh, okay. They all just shoot him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Isn't that like so
times.
much of like a snappier little scene where it's kind of taking this stupid cliche line and kind of throwing it on its head, and it's a lot of fun. But here it's just played entirely straight.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that a shame?
It's so does that happen in the dialogue? Senna tells him that she has to do it herself.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to complain about here, but throughout the whole thing, Senna and Lucian are fighting all the time because Lucian's like so worried Senna's gonna die again, and Senna's like, please, like, you're so annoying, is kind of what I was getting from it. But this is a visual medium that they're doing. They literally call it a visual novel. So we won't need the dialogue. I hate the writing advice of show, don't tell, just being that generic. But this is an instance where why we don't need this dialogue exchange between the two of them. It's just bad storytelling. It's just another hit in the face of just really weak storytelling, which this whole thing was.
I think some of that is almost the fault of the method that they are telling it through. This weird visual novel style absolutely does not work here, right? Because you are overloaded with dialogue. It's overwhelmingly what you get, and talking about bad storytelling, it's just like it is constantly just people explaining. It's constant telling, right? There's no way. You know what I also love about it? This is like so stupid that I like it. Is the way that there's no dynamism in any of the scenes, because everyone's got their little cutouts and they're all just standing around, and sometimes someone will like turn around and the thing does like a vertical flip. It's just this little 2D thing that just looks the other way and hops along.
It reminded me. Did you guys ever watch the old He-Man? Like the non-animated ones?
No.
You're so old.
Apparently. Well, never mind.
It's like adult.
Sorry, Hud.
It's like a Aqua Teen Hunger Force is what made me
Oh my
think
God,
of.
it
Where they just like hop
is.
around and just the models just flip. It's just so funny.
Also, Isolde had a fucking savage line here after she came back to life, and Viego was like, "Do you feel nothing for me at all?" And she's like, "Yes, I feel pity." Stone cold.
Listen, you're a really good friend, Viego.
I will say, of as much as I hate the visual novel the most, but the ending I think here I might like the best, partially because they get to actually have that interaction, and also because there's a little bit of a moment where after she has been absolved and she's dissipating, where Viego is like just trying to grab onto the bits of her that are like dissolving away, and I like that visual, right? And I wish that was something we'd gotten in maybe like an Absolution to kind of help, just help. It's a little more of a little emotional thing than just doing a Darth Vader no. I don't know.
Yeah. Also in this one, after the Absolution, the characters specifically ask, how did that work? And then
oh my God, they do?
And Akshan's like, well, you see, Isolde technically killed you by pulling her soul from your body. First of all, no, she didn't. She didn't do that. That was Viego again. Also, if your event ends with a bunch of characters asking how your event ended the way it did, maybe it wasn't a good ending.
Yeah, everyone's alive, everyone's fine, and no one knows why. No one can explain the mechanics of it. They just are.
The end of the event was just an Amumu lore. Well, some say that this was why the Absolver worked the way it did.
Imagine if Revenge of the Sith ended, Star Wars Episode 6 ended, and they were like, oh, how did the Emperor die? Well, you see. He just explains how. Oh my God.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's pretty funny.
Such bad storytelling.
Another line I liked before Vex came out was they're like, oh no, how are we going to get back to the Shadow Isles? And they're like, oh, well, Rookie could use the Wayfinder. They're like, but then our friends would be trapped on the Shadow Isles. Like, y'all, the Wayfinder can bring you back to the Shadow Isles, right? You literally just teleported to the Shadow Isles. Like, yeah, you may have to take a boat from where you landed to where, you ended up. But, like, that's like a few hours tops.
Yeah.
You can just come right back.
I had that exact same thought. My best thought was like, well, maybe they've been doing this for days. It's like days of travel into the island. But I don't remember. But, yeah, it's dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah. The other thing that I wish I had kept track of for Vex was Tryhard. Tryhard and Normie were man, oh man.
They show up way too much, especially like I said here at the end. This is the climax, the dramatic resolution to the whole thing. Please don't say Tryhard Normie. Please just don't.
Another line here that really upset me. When all the Ruins champions are turning back into normal champions, Miss Fortune says, not one of my proudest moments getting blackjacked by some royal corpse. You did not get blackjacked. You legitimately volunteered yourself.
I missed that she said that.
Oh my god.
Oh man, that's fucked. I like how she gets stabbed by Viego, right? And then Pike drags her under the water, and Pike just shows up, and she's nowhere to be found. So we assume, and he's got the thing that he went under for. She shows up, and she's fine.
She's fine.
Yeah.
Everyone's fine.
Good.
You know what else was a really good point I had read was like, think about Pantheon, right? So you got Atreus, who's the host, Pantheon, who's the aspect, and the whole lore is that Atreus had like such a strong will, he cast off Pantheon. And then he gets ruined, and Pantheon's back. So after Viego gets dealt with, we come back to a normal Atreus. So that means that he had to cast off Viego and then cast off Pantheon again, and it all just happened off screen. Don't worry about it. He's fine.
Imagine being double possessed.
Right? He's used to this shit. It's old hat.
But that's kind of insulting that he can fight off Pantheon, but then is ruined immediately.
Yeah, they wanted to ruin Pantheon skin, right? And so they don't really give a shit for the implications it has for what was. I don't know a lot about Pantheon, but I thought the Atreus idea was actually really cool in his kind of rework. So,
last line that I really didn't like from this is from our girl, Vayne, when she sees Thresh.
Oh God!
Gotta say, he's not bad looking. Much less monstery than I thought he'd be.
She really just bases it on appearance only.
Which makes me think she's just racist for attacking Senna. What was that?
It's fucking true, dude.
Man.
Vayne would be racist.
She would be.
Oh, man. She arguably kind of is. I don't know if you can like.
That's true. No, you're right.
I don't know. Yeah, can we talk about Unbound Thresh for a second?
You bet we can.
I like the Dinka's like flesh is not Thresh, man. This shit's fucked. That made me so upset. I hate it so much.
With every soul the ruination seized, Thresh's lantern burned brighter. He had planned for this moment, after all, the chance to scour beyond the Shadow Isles, the mist's reach so much greater than his own. Reaping all he had so meticulously sown, Thresh was at last unbound from the shackles of the Isles. He had forgotten how good it feels to have skin.
I don't know. It's, whatever, right? It's just... I understand that the idea of you've got to publish to regions and you have to change character designs to match regions, and maybe it's, like Wild Rift, I think, was the big inciting thing for this, right? Because that's massively big in places where they don't want the original Thresh design. I understand that constraint, but come on, man. Like, you got to know that everyone is, not everyone, but they should know that me, Mark, is fucking tired of all these champions that look like this, motherfucker. Come on. Like, please.
I will say the cinematic made it better.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
The in-game, like the model for sure, made him look way more six-packy. Whereas the cinematic made it definitely, it didn't look like that anymore. It looked like weird markings on his skin as opposed to like, he looked like a monster in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the in-game model is a little sexy.
So I really like that cinematic, but my biggest issue with it is that you could run that entire thing. What's good about that cinematic has nothing really specific to Thresh, and I think you could absolutely run it with Evelyn, for example. And what's good about that cinematic will stay good. So, he the design also, like, I will say, is more unique, maybe, in that cinematic, but still, right? It being a good cinematic, like, doesn't absolve
make Unbound.
Yeah.
I do gotta say, to get off my chest though, while I do understand the frustration of all these six-pack anime boys coming out one after the other, and I miss monstrous champions and I want more, they've been doing that with female champions forever. We have like 2 monster girls and then like 1 kid, and then there's some Yordles, but other than that, all of them look the fucking same.
I mean, I think that's I would say that's I completely agree that's a massive fucking problem. Like, that's why one of my frustrations when we had with like Gwen was just like, great, Cool.
Yeah.
Could've, like,
Such
Yeah.
potential.
cool.
But they definitely lost. They used to have more variety when it comes to male champions, and they really, obviously, they haven't in a long time. But
Yeah, I don't mind a normal, good-looking human champion.
Of course
I
not.
just want variety, man, and I want things that are interesting. You know?
Yes, things that are different.
Yeah.
If you're including cinematic, if you're including lines in your cinematics about how few of your characters are wearing shirts, maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could sit through the skin lore, John.
I just have a few.
Okay.
I was going to go over a few of the
you
ruined.
have so many.
I did
of
write them all just
Okay.
in case, but the Sentinel ones, for the most part, follow the story we've already gone through, so there's no
Okay.
real need to go through them. A few of the ruin a lot of the ruin ones actually
They have like an actual
give
story.
behind the scenes shit because
Yeah.
we just show up and see a bunch of ruined champions. We don't actually get to see what happened. So I'll do some ruined.
Okay.
Ruined Draven. A showman, no matter the circumstance, Draven challenged Viego to a duel that the glorious executioner immediately lost, resulting in his ruination. Unlike his ruined brethren, little has changed about Draven, save for a white shock hair on his head and a slightly more vicious personality than usual. So again, he fought, unlike some people.
Yeah.
Ruined Karma. Surviving the initial ruination of Ionia, Karma is ultimately lost during a second one led by Viego himself. With the spirit of Ionia itself removed from the continent, the Ionian people must band together to save one another, even as Karma twists the souls of millions to a new horrific purpose.
Jesus.
Just scary as fuck. We miss a lot of that power.
Yeah, where's
Yeah.
that? Where's that tension? Where's all of that?
Right? Like, why would you even write that if you have no intention of following up on it, right? Just don't write it.
Jesus.
Ruined Pantheon. The mist did not just subsume Atreus, but also resurrected the long-dead spirit of Pantheon, the aspect of war himself. With Atreus' stubborn defiance silenced, Pantheon can resume control and revel in battle once again. It doesn't matter to him whose banner he fights under. If that banner is the ruined king, so be it. And then they have an ascended Pantheon, which I think is post-ruination. Pantheon was defeated once, but with all of Runeterra on the line, now Atreus must defeat it himself. Seizing back control from the aspect of war, Atreus harnesses the celestial power of Targon itself, briefly becoming not just a vessel or an aspect, but something new, something immensely powerful and entirely his own.
Wouldn't that have been a neat thing to have, like, if he was ruined part of the way and then he got unruined and hung out? Like, he doesn't have to be, like, super redeemed. Maybe that happens at the end. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, before we move on from that, is that not conflicting with the idea? Because remember when we did, like, Aurelian Soul and a Pantheon got killed, and Aurelian could feel these other sort of Pantheon hosts kind of ripple with anger across the universe. Like, they're more complex than just a single sort of entity being, was my understanding, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they don't give a shit about this, though.
Maybe.
It's like, oh my god, is that green? Is that green guy again? No.
Oh, Jolly Green Giant. Oh, fuck.
Now we've got Ruined Misfortune. Misfortune thought that being the Pirate Queen of Bilgewater would be enough. Even with her revenge complete, Sarah now faced a new chaos with Bilgewater's factions vying for control. Viego's arrival offered her an opportunity to seize the strength needed to crush anyone beneath her heel, even if it came at a price. See, even this story doesn't even mention GP. It's like competing factions, which is what we thought.
Fair.
Like,
yeah, and this is another thing that, again, could have worked if we got one of those mini comics or mini stories or something explaining Misfortune's thought process to allowing herself to succumb to the ruination, because I find it insulting otherwise, the quick way they did it in the client.
Yep.
all right. So Sentinel Pike may be the only Sentinel that is worth going through. Pike may seem an unlikely Sentinel to take up the oath, but Viego's name is next on his list. Pacified for now by the influence of Nagakaboris, the real danger is that he might snap at any moment, killing allies and enemies alike.
Where were those stakes?
Right. Just tell him you're not on the list. You'll be fine.
Yeah, maybe we'll get more about that in Ruined King. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's Alawi's god, I guess, just to make that clear. that Nagatoboros.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't know. I don't know Pike's lore at all.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I would love it if Ada and Des would join the league. Maybe
of
as
Legends.
a single champion.
Ooh, that would be interesting. That would be interesting.
Oh, like ice climbers.
Yeah. Or like the Lost Vikings from Heroes of the Storm.
I didn't play that.
No, I didn't play HOTS, unfortunately.
Oh, it's one of the it's like a character that has like 3 independent characters and you can control all 3 of them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or like if you played Dota 2, there was one that his ultimate, every level in his ult he got, he could split.
Oh, yeah. What's that guy's name? I don't play a lot of Dota, but I do remember.
I forget too. He was like a
Like
little
Meepo or something
dude,
like
right?
that? I don't know.
Meepo, that's the one.
We'll do our Dota podcast soon. Okay.
Do we have any more lingering thoughts?
I liked it.
I know we've been really harsh, but
It was pretty good overall.
No notes.
I don't know.
Plus.
I've got a lot. I just little things I want to make clear. Like the decisions in the client are meaningless, right? It's really frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
It's really frustrating to have these things put in front of you when you cotton on really quick that this shit's not going to matter, right?
There were times when I would select a certain dialogue option and they would respond as if I selected a different dialogue option. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah.
It was pretty early on I caught that. I'm like, so that would have been the response no matter which of these 3 shitty options you gave me.
Yeah.
There was a choose your own adventure book where everything said, now turn the page.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really
The
frustrating.
whole rookie thing, take it out. It was so bad.
I posted to our Discord. There's like a line really early on where Lucian says, "You know what? It doesn't matter what Rookie thinks." It's like, yeah, that's pretty much it. We should have known.
Fucking true. It made sense in the Spirit Blossom event, which was much smaller and a bit more successful because it was just kind of cute and it was fine.
Yeah. And it was set up the same. Like your decisions didn't matter there either, but I didn't care because it wasn't impacting like a global.
Yes, you were building like relationships with characters though, so it actually felt like you were doing something. There were some lasting effects there, but not in this at all.
Yeah, it's like, why even, don't waste my time, right? This so much of this whole thing is just wasted time, right? Why give me these decisions when none of it, we both know that they don't matter. Don't waste my time, right? And then on top of that, it's like the initial grind for people who didn't play it, the initial rate of unlocking this shit was insanely slow. You know what? I was thinking about this, and Riot was actually the hidden MVP because they knew how bad this shit was. So like, just make it so no one can ever get to it. It's fine. No one will want to read this shit. But yeah, there is so much crap written for this whole fucking thing. I don't know why they thought dumping so much. Like, I know this is supposed to be a big event, but like getting it just feels like it meanders so much. It's just like bloviating to the truest sense of the word. It's like, it is a grind to even read through this shit, man. Fucking hate it.
And it's not giving you any information. You're just reading. That's why I started skipping it. And like, I didn't think I would. I went through the whole Spirit Blossom event and I thought that was a little bit tedious, but it was fine.
Yeah.
But this one, I'm just constantly reading these lines that aren't progressing the story at all and aren't actually funny or interesting. They're not developing the characters. What even the fuck was it?
And like, I would go even further than not developing the characters. It is actively tearing away at bits of the characters that you have built.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it's true.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Feels like there's no like significant lasting impacts. Like after the resolution of everything, we have none of the questions we had about the state of the world going in were answered, and we're left with more that are not answered. We have no. It was so funny. There's a little rookie journal that runs alongside the in-client novel, and after you do Demacia, it's like, Demacia is safe for now. Is it? Because it seems like it was pretty fucked up when I last saw it. I don't know. I guess it's fine, right? Who the fuck knows?
You took care of Shyvana. Shyvana was the one ruined person there. Everyone else was like out.
And can we just talk for a second about how they didn't even do that? They like temporarily knocked her out and left her there, and she shows up again. She was fine. Who knows how many other people she killed in Demacia after you left?
See, that's why you don't leave a monster alive. Vane's got the fucking. I can't even finish the sentence.
Maybe if Jarvan wasn't having a fucking beer with his bestie.
Yeah, man, when you gotta bro out, you gotta bro out. You know, you know what I mean? Fucking the Sentinels, I think, come off as like sloppy, unprepared. They're constantly going to these Sentinel bases that have been paved over. No one's there. They just don't exist anymore. And it makes you question, like, well, they've been stopping harrowings. They make mention of, they've been stopping harrowings for thousands of years. But at the same time, people like Lucian and Senna don't know that they can teleport, which is a massive fucking like boon to them. They don't know about any of that shit till they show up. There's no one there at the Sentinel shops. As far as I can tell, in Shurima, there was Akshan and Shadya were the only two ones in that whole space. It's
yeah,
like,
I never really understood what the Sentinels were in context of like their historical context.
Yeah.
It would have made a lot more sense if Lucian and Senna were just like, we need to make a team to fight Viego, and then they just created their own thing.
Yeah, I know they were an organization that, Senna and Lucian are Sentinels. I know it's a pre-existing organization, but it's fleshed out in such a weird and slapdash way. They've got this, the oath thing is weird, and they have this weird quasi, they sometimes stand on rank. Sometimes they pull rank with each other, and sometimes it doesn't matter. And it's like, where do you think we are? What do you think's happening right now that you can sit there and say to me, like, I'm Graves. I don't give a shit about any of this. I've said as such. What does it matter that you're my commanding officer? This shit doesn't matter. There's 12 of us, man. Like, it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Fucking...
Yeah. And, yeah. I mean, we've seen the timeline of the harrowings. If their whole thing is to stop ruination and harrowing and shit, like, why are they so bad at it?
Yeah.
The Bilgewater gets harrowed every year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why does...
I have no idea.
Why is there not, like... You would think they would be some, like, an organization that was really, like, running very smoothly and was really up to date and really ready, like ones that have been getting decades of practice against this type of thing. They don't have a system for sending out, like, an alarm to everywhere. There's no, hey, harrowing, hit the, you know what firefighters have is when there's a fire, there's an alarm that goes off, and all the firefighters go and fight the fire. Sentinels don't fucking have that.
The beacons are lit. Gondor calls for aid.
Like, literally that, please. Send a runner. I don't fucking know, but do something. It's, oh man. Fuck me.
It's like it's structured like an organization that was formed to deal with a hypothetical future threat when that threat came, but then they passed through so much time without that threat coming that they just fell into disarray. But this threat comes all the time.
Yeah.
How did it get like this?
It makes me think a little bit of like the Grey Wardens from like Dragon Age, in that, very similar organization, people from all over stopping, massive world-ending things, and there's been a lot of time since the last one, so they've fallen into kind of disrepair and disorganization, right? But that's not the case in fucking Runeterra, man. That's not the case with the Sentinels. Yeah. Like you said, that shit happens every other fucking Monday.
Yeah.
We get new harrowing skins every year.
Right? They haven't been keeping track. That's the real problem. They're not fucking patched. I think, okay, so here's another thing, a big thing. Is like, so they go around and they recruit all these Sentinels, but what impact does that actually have in the resolution of this conflict, right? Across all three of the stories. It's nothing. It's nothing.
They only needed
needed two.
Yeah. They only needed a few of them.
Yeah.
In the end.
You didn't even need Akshan. You just needed his gun.
Yeah.
Maybe you needed his sneakiness if you were going to get in through portals.
I guess.
But then just have higher Twitch. Twitch can be your new
Twitch would have been great. Fuck. But yeah, exactly. It's like, if you think about it, like when you, like a heist movie, for example, where you're gathering up a crew, they've all got these special skills, and all those skills in a well-written movie, they come together in this perfect way where everyone's doing their little thing and it all works out. And you can't succeed without those pieces in your machine. But in every single resolution, it always comes down to Senna, like in the comic where it's just Senna, right? And maybe we get it to Akshan and Gwen and Rookie, I guess, in the visual novel, even though the Rookie doesn't do anything either. So
yeah. Yeah. It would have made a lot more sense if the new Sentinels they recruited were staying in their region to try to, like, keep the mist back.
Sure.
With their fans or whatever.
God, okay, so imagine this.
First thing they did was abandon their region as soon as they got
just
the power to
immediately
protect it.
And what happens, like, does everyone just become ruined? Like, it sounds horrible.
Yeah. I was gonna say, imagine this, where, like, instead of just deciding which region to go to next, just like which chapter you get to read first, it's like, ooh, which region are you gonna help with all their individual little Sentinels, and maybe the story can still convalesce into the same endpoint, right? But at the very least, it feels, I don't know, maybe a little bit more meaningful when you're making these decisions. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have loved if you had to make decisions. Like, you always have an option of 2 regions. Even if you know which champion you're going to get from each of those regions, you choose one of them that you can rescue, the other one falls to ruination, and that's how you're determining the ruined champions that you have to fight at the end.
That would be a lot of fun.
You pick your team and you choose your enemies.
You know what's also really telling? Because I was looking at all of the pre-release content, and in the event trailer, it was very telling to me that there's like nothing about how the event works. It's very vague, like, ooh, deploy across Runeterra, and it shows like a little map thing as if there's like some sort of strategic element, and then the rest of it is just skins. And it's like, oh, you bury the lead, huh? Like, really hide what this actually is. Man.
Thank you for listening to us bitch for however long this ends up being. I've got a timestamp of 2 hours and 45 minutes right now, so this will be fun.
We'll see what it gets edited down to.
I'm clearly not editing them both at the same time. I'm going to edit one and be like, all right, this is over an hour. It's a good time to end it. But yeah, hopefully Riot does a little bit better. Hopefully they learn some shit. If you want to do a marketing thing and sell skins, cool, do that. But don't taunt everyone with really cool lore and then do this, because it was really shitty.
Yeah. Void event better be better.
Oh my god. Please do not fuck up a Void event like this.
Man.
I'll be so disappointed.
All the sexy champions get Void skins.
Right.
Kog'Maw gets like a 6-pack, like...
I was laughing at
Unbound Kog'Maw.
Yeah, I saw an Unbound Twitch, and it was just like a male model and then like a rat head photoshopped on. It's really fucking good.
Shit, it's great. All right, and I think next week we'll be back at it with our regular scheduled programming. So join us next week when we will talk about something much more fun and adorable: the revered inventor Heimerdinger.
The ruined inventor Heimerdinger, man.